So if you take just one thing from this entire course, remember this. The quickest way to learn to play music by ear is to restrict all of your playing to one key for a sustained period of time. So listen to every new song as though it were in that one key. You're restricting all of your thinking to one key and you're mastering that one key. So why should you learn to play songs in one key? Most musicians try learning each new song in the key of the original. So they'll learn a Coldplay song in B flat minor, followed by a U2 song in E major, and a Destiny's Child song in F sharp minor, for example. Now, when every new song is in a different key signature, you encounter a full spectrum of all 12 major chords, all 12 minor chords, and it's very hard, almost impossible, to notice any relationship between one song and the next. Basically like trying to learn 12 languages at the same time. But when you put all the songs you play into the same key, you notice very quickly that it's the same few notes and the same few chords being used over and over and over again. And the only thing changing is usually the key signature, not the notes and not the chords. So I believe that it's far more important for a musician to master one key than to remain equally unaware in all 12 keys. And number 2, when you stick to one key, every note and chord sounds the same every time you play it. So an essential part of playing music by ear is learning the unique sound of notes, so the root, second, third, and so on in the scale, and learning the unique sound of the 2 chord, the 5 chord, the 1 chord, and so on. All the time that you spend playing in one key, each note you play sounds the same. So C sounds like the root every time, D sounds like the second every time, E sounds like the third every time, and so on. But as soon as you change to a new key, then each of those notes takes on a whole new sound within the context of the new key. So C might start sounding like the 5th, D might sound like the 6th, E might sound like the 7th, and so on if you're in F major. And all of the memories which had been building up from the last key are quickly smudged away and replaced with new ones. But at the end of the day, your brain doesn't know which ones to trust, so ultimately each note just ends up being a muddy mix of memories, none of which stick. So only by restricting your playing to one key do you actually give yourself a chance to build up the memories of these sounds. And every time you play in that key, your memory of these sounds grows stronger, and it's impossible to backpedal. Now, once you've ingrained these sounds in one key, then you can open up your playing to all other keys, and you'll notice those same sounds that you learnt in the first key in corresponding locations in every other key. The root always sounds like the root, the second always like the second, and so on. But first you have to learn these sounds in one key. So I discovered this accelerated learning technique completely by accident, completely by luck. There was a 2-year period when I was about 16 to 18 where I just started playing everything in one key, which happened to be C minor, E flat major. I already knew the notes of C minor, and there was no real incentive for me to start practicing C sharp minor and then D minor, E flat minor, and all other 12 minor scales. Ultimately, the music sounded the same to me whether I was playing in C minor or in F sharp minor, so I just chose to explore C minor in depth, which turned out to be far more rewarding and beneficial. So during this 2-year period, everything I composed was in C minor. Every new musical concept I learnt about, chords, cadences, 2-5-1s, I would apply to my playing in C minor. And every song I listened to, I naturally listened to it as though it were in C minor, which meant that later I would learn to play that song in C minor. Restricting my playing to one key went against everything most music teachers had told me. Things like practice playing in all 12 keys, learn to play all 12 major scales, all 12 minor arpeggios, and so on. And I even remember band members telling me, you need to address that. which was their way of saying that I should become fluent playing in other keys. But while my scales and arpeggios didn't necessarily improve during that period, my ear training did, faster than ever. Within a few months, I could play most pop songs by ear flawlessly. I reached the same level as the one student in our class who had perfect pitch, and it was clear that my ear training was improving far quicker than any of my musical classmates and even surpassing most of my music teachers. On one occasion, I remember my music teacher attempting to work out the notes of a TV theme tune at the piano. Despite being an excellent musician when it came to sight reading and performance, he simply could not do it. I remember sitting there politely watching him for about 10 minutes, while I knew exactly what the notes were just by singing back the melody in my head. At the time, I didn't know why my ear was developing so quickly. I thought that I must just be practicing more than anyone else. But that wasn't actually the case. Most of my classmates were trying to play songs by ear just as much as I was, and these were the days before you could find sheet music online. It wasn't until recently that I realised that the only thing that I did differently was learning to play every song in the same key. Have you ever questioned why we have 12 keys? Wouldn't one key signature be enough? The main practical reason for having many keys is so that a composer can choose a key that is the best fit for the music and the instruments that are performing it. Every instrument has its own range and its own sweet spot, which is a range where it sounds its strongest. Often a composer will compose a piece of music in one key, but when it comes to arranging that piece for its performers, will transpose it into a completely different key just to make it fit better for those performers. So having 12 keys just allows a composer to find the best range for their music. No key signature is better than another. G flat major is no better than C major. It looks more complicated when seen on paper, but a song essentially sounds the same whether you play it in C major or G flat major or any other key. So I've since become fluent playing in all 12 keys and in transposition, but only after a sustained period of time playing in one key. So I suggest you prioritize training your ear first, because ear training is king, and once you've made progress in ear training, it's a much simpler task to just become fluent playing in other keys, which can be learnt in a matter of weeks. Now in my case, I stayed playing in C minor for 2 years predominantly. Obviously I didn't play every single piece of music in C minor, but most of my thinking was in C minor for that period of time. Now I suggest that you stick to one key for several months, and basically you want to do it long enough until you notice yourself being able to play most music by ear. So the first step is to choose a key which we're going to stick to. Now in making this course I had to choose a key for you, but maybe you already have a favourite key which you would like to use instead. Now each key represents a major scale and a minor scale, and these are called relative major and minor scales. They use the same group of notes and they just start from different notes within that group. So throughout this course I will be using the key of C major and A minor to demonstrate every musical concept. So if we're listening to a song that's in the major scale, I will listen to it as though it's in C major and will learn to play that song in C major. Or if we're listening to a song that's in the minor scale, we'll listen to it as though it's in A minor and we'll learn to play it in A minor. So thank you very much for watching. If nothing else, I really hope that this inspires you to practice restricting your playing to one key and also to get in the habit of transcribing songs by ear. Just practice, say 3 songs a week. Try to transcribe not even the entire song, but just the verse or a chorus or a bass line. And if you just make this a habit of questioning what you hear, then you will learn to play music by ear in a matter of time. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Also, if you know anyone who would also benefit from this concept, I'd really appreciate if you could share it with them. And if this is the first video of mine you've seen, make sure you don't miss out on future videos by subscribing to my channel. Now you can watch the rest of the course at themusicalear.com. The course is over 30 video lessons, just like this one, 10 to 15 minutes long each. And every lesson is taught within the same key. So we really drill home this one key, and it really reinforces these recurring patterns, the same few notes being used over again, the same few chords being used over and over again. So you can check out the complete course at themusicalear.com. As always, there's a 90-day money-back guarantee, so you can try the course. If it's not right for you, just let me know. I'll be happy to refund your purchase. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.